everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Bingo. And we have the Canada Project here, and Amy's back again with us. And I appreciate you being here, Amy, because after exploring the Canada Project on WikiTree's pages, you guys have a fantastic project. It is awesome.
And we have a great bunch of project members. That's why.
I am so impressed by your project leaders, by your members, by your profiles. It is amazing. And the thing that struck me with Canada, you also have a little bit of different needs because of different languages as well in territories. And we did talk about earlier today, if you missed it, we talked about the First People, First Nations. So you have a lot of different languages and different makeup of what makes your country. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm really happy to see you guys here. And how's everybody doing? Everybody doing great? I see a couple familiar faces. I see some new faces. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a jam-packed hour. What we're going to do first is give you a little bit of information about Canada. Then we're going to give you a little bit of information about the Canada Project. In the meantime, while we're doing that, if you have not been here before, the drill is I'm going to drop the bingo card number 1. We'll do 2 today. I'm going to drop that in the chat. Bring that up on a separate tab, a separate screen, a separate component, whether you're watching on your computer and you can bring it up on your cell phone, however you choose to do it. And we're going to talk a little bit about Canada. After the first bingo card, we're going to come back and show you some incredible and amazing notable profiles from the Canada Project that I know you'll recognize. You'll be amazed. You'll be impressed. And we'll talk about them and see what everybody thinks. And I like this right off the bat. We got Canadians right off the bat. Okay, so let's talk a little bit then about Canada. We're not going to go in too deep because we want to dig into the WikiTree pages, but let's talk just a little bit about a couple of facts, a couple of fun facts about Canada that some I was quite surprised at myself. So Canada's obviously in North America. I would say stunning is a perfect word, stunning in natural beauty, because you guys have it in abundance and your flag is the iconic maple leaf. Anybody want to guess why? Could it have something to do with maple syrup? We'll see. But it's the world's second largest country by land. So that kind of surprised me as well. I was a little bit surprised.
Only Russia is bigger land mass wise.
That's interesting. Yeah. So it's the longest coastline in the world. Did not know that as well. And the shield. I did not realize how much covers half the country's land mass. This is just amazing. When you look at the United States and you look at Canada, I think some of us in the States can say, okay, so if we just flip it, and we just like take the North America of Canada and United States, just fold it, it'd be about equal. But no, it would not. No. It definitely would not be. And then the Canada flag again has the maple leaf. And it's a symbol not only of its resources, which includes the maple syrup, but its natural beauty. And I would have to agree with that. And I guess I need to ask everybody that's here in chat if you've had maple syrup. I'm going to assume you have, but have you had poutine? So that is a national culture, treasure, cuisine of Canada. Can I get it anywhere in Canada?
Pretty much.
Okay. And it's funny that it's also known for hockey. Now, we're going to talk about this a lot because, number one, I'm a huge hockey fan. As you can see, I brought out my red jersey. My team is not red anymore, but I brought out my red jersey to celebrate Canada Day a little bit early. But there's some interesting facts that Amy educated me on about hockey that I am still sad about. So we're going to talk about that as well and have some fun tonight. Okay, some famous Canadians. We're going to talk about this after the first bingo card. But
you had to put that first one, didn't you?
I was waiting for you to say that. I was waiting for somebody to say, "Did we have?
You can have him.
Do we have to claim him?" So good old Justin Bieber. And Come on. Now, Ryan Reynolds.
No, he stays.
Oh, he stays. We can't have him. And Margaret Atwood. For some reason, I've watched The Handmaid's Tale as well as read it, and I did not
She's an
realize
incredible
she was Canadian.
author.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I think we'll let you keep all three. Or we'll take the second one if we really need to. So again, poutine, maple syrup, that's what we're talking about. But talk to me, Amy, about the cuisine. It has to vary from location to location to location.
Certainly. Yeah, certainly it does.
And we talked about the shoreline too. So of course, you're probably going to get a lot of fresh seafood.
So our East Coast is famous for its seafood.
And then what do we get inland?
So Quebec and I haven't been all across Canada. I've been mostly East Coast and Ontario, Quebec. So French cuisine, definitely Quebec, and even in New Brunswick.
That makes sense.
There's a large French community there.
That makes sense. In Montreal.
Ontario is pretty standard fare, burgers, fries.
And so on.
Barbecue.
But if you haven't had poutine, explain to us what that is.
Oh, poutine.
I know.
French fries smothered in gravy with cheese curd. It has to be cheese curd.
Can't just be that cheese sauce.
Can't just be cheese sprinkled on. No.
Yeah.
It's got to be cheese curd. No, I've had a really good one the other day. We stopped at a little place nearby. It's just a chip truck. And it's called Canadian poutine. And it is your regular poutine, but it also has onion, bacon.
Oh,
it is so good.
It's almost like our version of loaded potato or loaded fries, but but like you said, if you don't have the cheese curds on it, it's not poutine.
It's not poutine.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just not. And this is where Amy broke my heart.
I'm sorry.
How many of y'all knew hockey was very popular, but it's not the national sport of Canada?
It's our national pastime.
I am shocked.
But it's not our national
over
sport.
The corner from my computer monitor going, he's like, what? I know, I'm shocked. This lacrosse. And if you were here in the earlier when we were talking about First Peoples, Amy's actually played lacrosse.
I did. I played in high school. It's a very rough sport.
It is so fast. It is rough.
Yeah.
I know that here in Atlanta we have a lacrosse team, and we watch it, and I'm like, that is just way too fast. And then I believe I'm also from Maryland, so I want to say lacrosse is the national sport of Maryland as well.
Okay,
somebody can fact check me, but that hockey, what happened there?
Yeah, I don't know.
So do you guys do quite well in tournaments, global tournaments?
In lacrosse or hockey?
In lacrosse. I already know the hockey. In lacrosse.
I don't actually follow lacrosse now as an adult, so I really maybe somebody in the comments
Doug will let us know. Yeah, that kind of broke my heart. So that kind of brings us to the Canada project on WikiTree. So for those of you that have not visited the Canada project pages, we're going to give you a treat, and we're going to show the two real quick. I just want to make a couple notes here. So Liza goes, we are not a melting pot like the U.S. We are a salad bowl. We're mixed together, but can remain part of our original culture. And I love that analogy. I love it. And did not know this. The cheese curds are made in Quebec and many other places. So that's pretty cool too. And welcome to the show, Stephen. Glad to have you here as well. Because the cheese curd question was because Carol mentioned, do cheese curds come from Wisconsin, America's dairyland?
Oh.
So
actually, where I live in Lanark County, there were, even surrounding counties, in the 1800s, there were tons of dairy farms and cheese factories. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Mammoth cheese. Canada's actually won the Mammoth cheese contest by making the largest cheese wheel. Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to look it up. Somebody look up Mammoth cheese, and let's see if we can get educated on that too. But and cheese curds can come That's a good question. Cheese curds come from a particular type of cheese?
No, I don't think so. I've had all kinds.
Oh,
garlic flavored curd is really good.
What flavor?
Garlic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've had goat cheese curd too. Not as good, but still good.
I gotta agree with Kathy. If you know Canada, you know Tim Hortons. If you go into Canada and go, what's the Tim Hortons? You might get an exit plan.
We'll escort you to the border.
You might get put all the way on back on the other side. So you never know. Okay, let's talk Canada. This is a fabulous project. These pages are beautiful. You guys have it set up, and you will also see why you have a lot of leadership, because you have geographical teams and then you have other specific teams. You also have what we call a WikiTree trail as well, right? Where people can join the project and get educated along the way, kind of an education training trail along the way to learn how to create and how to source Canadian profiles.
Yep. And through the different time periods too, right? Because Canada wasn't always Canada. It had other names and other record keepers and yeah.
And would you also go through, if I went through the trail, would you also help us with the First Peoples?
Yes.
As well.
Yeah, you can do a specialization. So your first level of the trail is an introductory. This is, these are what we consider reliable sources. This is how to write a biography. We teach that kind of stuff.
That's really great.
Level 2, we focus more on the geography of Canada. So we try to get people to spread out. If they did Ontario in their first level, we might get them to do Alberta in the second level. And then level 3, they get to pick a specialization if they choose.
That's really interesting, because a lot of times people will pick really kind of certain areas. And right now I'm thinking more of Germany in particular. They had so many different regions and potentates and everything else, that little lords and few. So I can see where Canada, you would think that, one-stop shopping, go all the way around, but that's not the case. You have so many different geographical areas there.
It's a very diverse country.
And this is interesting. So the Catholic Church in Quebec kept mostly great records. And that's good to know as well. Because when you're researching, you want to find the records. Okay. Yep. And that's their project. Okay. Let's talk a little bit then. So on the teams, I've got the Atlantic Canadian team, the Ontario team, the Quebec team, and the Western Canada team. So when I start, if I go through the trail, I will pick up a geographical first, did you say? Or just a general?
No, it's just a general.
Okay. And then I can pick the geographical from there?
We try to encourage that, but it's still a pretty general. We try not to make it all one area. We try to spread them out.
And I think it's interesting too, because even if you think you know an area, it's really great to go through the trail, because you might learn something new. A lot of times as genealogists and as, armchair genealogists, pro genealogists, does not matter. We get stuck in our sources. We get stuck, and sometimes we don't realize
what you're familiar with.
Yeah. And always indexing is going on all the time.
That's right.
As well. Okay, so how do I join? It's the same. I always talk about this. It's the same as with any project. On the main project page, you will go to the box that's almost always kind of on the upper third or upper half, and go to G2G. And that's all you have to do is go to G2G and tell them you would like to join and take it from there. Again, the best thing to do once you join, even if you think you know Canada, even if you think you know the sources in your experience, it's really good to go through the trail, because when you add your knowledge of Canada, or if you're learning, and WikiTree, it's a good way to learn little tips and tricks with WikiTree as well.
Exactly.
And I just dropped the link for the Canada project. So if anybody is interested in that particular one, this kind of showed to me too that every region has part of a membership lead, I guess. I'm not sure. Do you call them PCs or do you call them team leads?
So our coordinators are considered PCs.
Okay.
A lot of them are team leaders for the specific provinces.
Mm-hmm.
So in Western Canada, you'll have a team for each province, and we'll have team leaders for those.
So if you have a question, let's say you do not want to join the Canada Project because you don't have a lot going there. And I'll give you my example. I actually had, shockingly, family in the late 1800s from West Virginia that picked up and moved. 2 brothers and 2 sisters of the family picked up and moved to the middle of Canada. That would not be something that I would probably join the Canada Project for, but I know now if I have the location, I can probably go straight to the PC here for that particular region and ask them any question that I might have. Absolutely. My first was why? Why did they go from one area down here to the middle of Canada, and they had the same crops almost,
right?
They were doing the same thing.
So they were still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not like they went mining or something.
So it was really, really interesting to learn. Now I want to scroll down a little bit more. If again, the Canada Project has resource pages for you. If you get stuck, if you need information, go here to the resource pages. If you still can't find what you're looking for, go back to these project coordinators. Yep. And a lot of times they will go, oh, I know exactly what you're looking for. Let me send you there. And if you really want to, you can do like I do. And I will send Amy an email saying, help. I need help.
Yeah, and my co-leaders are fabulous too. Doug
and we have Doug.
Great for answering questions.
Doug's here. Is Dave here, or is
I'm not sure if Dave was able to make it or not.
But if you have any questions and we do not catch them on the live feed, Doug is actually in the chat and he can answer questions probably a lot quicker than we see them. So if you have any questions about Canada, this is your time. Capture Doug's attention and ask away. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the teams already, the regional teams, and you have a couple other teams. You've got the managed team. Those are going to be your profiles that you have. Oh, we have all of Canada here. Oh, Canada. We have all of you.
Here. We're all here. Awesome. Yay.
This is great. And the trail team is what we were talking about for education and going through. And you have something that I don't see very often, the categories team. So you don't always see that on every WikiTree project. And is it because you have such vast land and also different cultures and languages?
Yes and no. So we have 3 time periods. We have British North America, we have Upper and Lower Canada, and then we have Canada. So, well, it's more complicated than that, but the areas were not always called the same thing, but they're the same place. And so we have categories for the time periods. Then in the 90s, our municipalities in Ontario specifically decided to do amalgamations and blend a whole bunch of townships and towns and cities together. So the categories got complicated. People were just creating categories for whatever. So we tried to put in a logical structure. And of course, it's different for each province and territory. There's territories too, right? So,
and I want to point out that I came across this when I was helping somebody with a Canadian one place study. And I came across this and it was like really kind of like crazy to me. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? What's going on? And then we ended up getting some education from the Canada Project of where to put things. So the reason why I point that out is I actually came across it. It was very confusing to me about what the localities were doing, not what WikiTree was doing, but really kind of what the localities were doing. So if you do come across this and you have a question, reach out to the Canada Project, because I know that I got instant answers. It was really, really easy. I not only did I get an answer of like, instead of just here, just do this, I got an explanation. So I really love that. And I remember thinking at the time after reading the email, it really is true. The Canadians are just a happy, friendly bunch, aren't you?
It's not just a stereotype.
No, it's not. It's really not. Okay. And then we have a couple of sub-projects, and I want to get into this, and this is really going to be an interesting thing to talk about as well. Amy is the leader of these sub-projects. And the reason why I want to get into them is they're very specific, and I am roping Amy to come back later in the summer with the British Home Children sub-project. So keep that in mind as well. But we talked a little bit about the First Peoples Canada project earlier today. And if you missed it, definitely go back. It was very intriguing and interesting to learn and get educated about that, as well as we talk a little bit about in the States, the Native Americans, how this imaginary international border really doesn't exist for nations. It does for governments, but in agriculture, it doesn't. But the Empress of Ireland team, now I would have said, Amy, that goes into Ireland.
The Empress of Ireland, actually, I'm not as familiar with as I should be. It was a ship that came from Europe. And if I remember correctly, it sank or it was damaged.
In the St. Lawrence River?
Yeah.
And it said that is sometimes called Canada's Titanic,
exactly.
Which is interesting and timely since we're talking about Titanic a lot this week.
Horrible situation that was.
But I wanted to point out with this, we did do a bingo with the Titanic project with Donna Bowman, and it was fantastic. Nice. And what I learned from that is where I'm probably going to come here with the Empress of Ireland to find complete sources for every passenger and crew member can be challenging because we're talking about probably a global crew. The Titanic definitely was. Like, for example, there was a large group of Syrian workers on the Titanic. So for this time frame and for ships, it was pretty much a global environment for the workers there, as it is now on cruise ships, if you think about it. And a lot of times we need to get these profiles in as well. So if this is something that you think that you are enjoy working on, is creating the profiles for people who are probably unseen in my mind a lot of ways when they went down with the ship, this would be a good project to jump on. But especially if you've been working on the Titanic projects since our bingo, this would be a good one also to jump on. And keep in mind, we said that Canada was large. I mean, very large. So think about all the profiles that you probably still need to get into WikiTree.
Oh, yeah. There's only a fraction of them on there.
So keep that in mind as well. And then I'm not going to talk too much about the British Home Children in Canada because Amy's going to come back later to talk about it. And we're going to try and talk about that in the Remember the Children project on the same day to kind of bring those and link those together as we go through it. Okay, let's talk bingo. Who wants to do the first bingo card? Let me go ahead and get that set up. Again, if you have not got your bingo card, bring it up. And while you're bringing it up, I will also find it on my screen. There we go. Okay, so here's the rules with bingo. If you have not played before, I'm going to call out the words. And if they are words I can't pronounce, Amy's going to call them out.
I'll try.
And also, Amy gets the task of explaining what the words are because Amy gave us the list. And I already know when she talks about lacrosse, she's going to break my heart again.
You're never going to let me live that down.
No, I'm not. To win at bingo, what you need to do is either complete a row horizontally, diagonally, or vertically. There is a picture. Everybody should see a little clip art in the middle. And if you see that, go ahead and click that with your mouse now, and that'll show you how to do it. If you click it again, it'll remove. So if you accidentally click a spot and you didn't want to, just click it again. But to mark your cards, all you got to do is click. The first person who shouts bingo in the chat is the person who wins bingo. So if many of you have the same bingo at the same time, whoever's the quickest will win bingo. If you have won within the past 6 months, you are not eligible to win until the 6 months from your last win date. If you have never won at bingo, then you are eligible to win as well. And the prize is up to $30. It's from the WikiTree branded store. Really awesome prizes. And I will show again for those that were not here. You guys are used to me showing my all black mug. I actually have the black and white mug. Some of you have the black and white, and some of you have talked about the black and white mug. This is it. I like the all black one. The all black one is awesome. But I like this one too. So that works too. We're going to go pretty quick. Let's go ahead and get started. Northwest Territories. And this is really just talking about a location. And this is territory team where you have a PC as well.
It's actually, I think it's included in the Western Canada.
Okay. And I also want to mention that do not close down your bingo card. You'll see people sometimes say bingo, keep playing. That's because they have won in the last 6 months, but they're having fun and they're joining us with bingo. Here, right off the bat,
Just pull off the Band-Aid.
There you go. We'll rip it off. So for those of you that weren't here at the beginning of the show, I just want to inform everybody that this is a sad day for Sandy. Hockey is not the national sport of Canada. Lacrosse is. Amazing. And British Columbia.
So yeah, BC. We call it BC. But that's the formal name is British Columbia.
And I'm going to bring up a few of your comments too as you do it. This was really interesting, Susan. So one of my Gigi aunts married a German Mennonite in Ontario, cool. And they ended up in a Mennonite community in Alberta. So
there's a large community in both places, actually. Yeah.
Really interesting. Okay. See, I tell you guys, I learn from everybody all the time. French.
So French, that can refer to the language. It also refers to one of the European nations that first brought government to North America, I guess.
Red and white.
Of course, red and white colors.
And I got to say that during the Olympics, I especially noticed that during the Winter Olympics, you know, the luge and things like that and the bobsled, your colors really are prominent and come across. You cannot miss a Canadian Olympian.
We're pretty proud of our colors.
I have no idea.
So Nunavut,
okay.
Nunavut was originally part of the Northwest Territories. And in 1999, it was made a territory of its own.
Okay. So before 1999, I would not use that as a location?
That's right. It would be Northwest Territories.
And here's another good one. Did you know that the only province that is officially bilingual is not Quebec?
That's right. Does anybody want to guess what it is?
I do, but I'm not going to. Is it obvious? Is it the one that I'm thinking? That's so
I don't know. It's not Ontario.
Okay. There we go. New
Brunswick.
There we go. I would have never guessed that.
Yep.
Okay. Now
Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's see. We have Bigfoot. You have Yeti? Or is that Alaska?
We have Bigfoot.
You have Bigfoot too?
Yeah, okay. We have Bigfoot. It's illegal to kill Bigfoot in Canada.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I'll have to remember that when I'm hiking in the very, very remote areas of Northwest Canada and maple syrup. And I will tell you that my mom spoiled us as a child, and I don't know where she got it because back in the day, and I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, but back in the day, finding Canadian maple syrup was really not an easy thing. She actually was raised on a farm in the States, so they had maple syrup. But once she tried Canadian maple syrup, she's never gone back. And I've never known pancakes without it.
The very first time that I had American pancakes with bottled syrup,
Oh,
I was.
You asked for egg?
I've never ate it since.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not one of the things we're proud of. And we talked about Ontario. And we're going to do some more facts from you guys. And New Brunswick has a large Acadian population.
That's right.
What's interesting about that is the Acadian project's coming to Bingo in about a month and a half.
Oh, very cool.
Gray Day.
Great, yeah, Gray Jay. Lots of people think our national bird is Canada goose.
Yeah.
It is not. It's the Gray Jay.
Sorry, bird watchers. I feel for you, bird watchers. Lacrosse, hockey.
I don't know if anybody else knows this, but I have a very strong dislike for Canadian geese. And my household refers to them as cobra chickens. They're a vicious, vicious bird.
This is funny. You guys are having fun in chat. We're also reading your chat. So you guys are having fun. English.
So same thing. It's a language, but it's also one of the European nations that helped create Canada as it is today.
Would you say that most Canadians speak English as the predominant, as the main language? Or
yes, I believe so. The largest French-speaking population is in Quebec, but there are pockets in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Alberta. It's pretty much everywhere.
And then we also talked about earlier about how each nation had their own languages as well.
That's right.
So Newfoundland and Labrador, and we're not talking about dogs.
No. No. One is an island, and the other is kind of a portion of the mainland where Quebec is located. So if you look on the map, they're separate, but they're the same province.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it a lot of people from the Titanic were buried in Newfoundland? I think.
Those that died after they were rescued, yes.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay, and we have a bingo. I think Eric was the first one that said bingo. So congratulations. Eric, this is really cool. Let me tell you how to get your prize. That's the most important thing right now. So to get your prize, you're going to email Eowyn and you're going to tell her that you won bingo from the Canada project, and she will email you back a link for the store so you can take a look and see what there. It's not just bingo branded things. There's a whole bunch of different types of WikiTree branded things. If you know already, because this is the most popular item in the store, if you know already you want the bingo mug, I'll do like that. If you want the bingo mug in all black, if you know that already, then you can just tell her, please, the bingo mug, all black, black handle, black inside, black everywhere around. You can tell her that and she'll hook you up. Otherwise, if you want to take a look and she'll let you know and get back to you. And I think the bingo prizes are coming out pretty quick. For a while, a couple months ago, they were a little slow because of supply issues, but they're coming out pretty quick now. So congratulations. That's pretty awesome. Eric just joined my project, the Appalachia project. So that's why I'm so big, because I was like trying to tell everybody, come on, the chances are good you'll win a prize. So Eric, I did not lie. I did not lie. And while we wait for me to set up everything, let me give you the second bingo card. There are always 2 bingo cards within every bingo session. Let's take a look at some really amazing profiles that you guys have. And I was asked Amy, I said, could you just give me some? She goes, no, you choose, because now I know why. There's so many. I spent like the past 4 hours looking at which ones do I have to say no to, because they were all really, really interesting. Okay.
Our notables team has just done a fabulous job. I'm thoroughly impressed.
I am telling you, I am really, really impressed. Let me shorten this. Let's see if we can get it all. Nope, we got it all in. And I want to mention right off the bat, because we were talking about him. Russell's our team leader.
Yeah.
He has done an amazing job with this. Let me get set up, and we're going to take you through a couple notable profiles. Some you might know, some you might not know. If we don't get ones that you think we should have got, drop them in chat so other people can take a look at them after the bingo as well. Try to pick a very interesting mix, and I found just some really amazing finds. So Edith, Jessie, Archibald is the first one that we're going to take a look at. I will drop the link also in chat. If anybody wants to look at her after bingo, feel free. And she's pretty interesting in itself. She was dubbed the Lady of Grace. And in her spare time, she would, go into saloons and have raids with the temperance union. So she was a suffragette leader. She was very involved with the temperance, and she wrote poetry and authored 2 books. But I just loved it where she was Lady of Grace, but in her spare time, she raided saloons. So that was really amazing. It's just a fabulous profile. You guys have done a really, really good job with that.
We have some pretty interesting characters.
I'm sure she was polite and friendly, though. She did as she went through. So that would be the first profile that we're going to talk about. The next one that we are going to talk about, we bring this up. This gentleman. So this gentleman, Raymond, was a chemist. And the thing that was very interesting about him that struck me, and I literally came across him at the last minute, is that he was the first person to synthesize table sugar from scratch. That's kind of cool. Okay, I get it. He's a chemist and he does that. But because he did that and related to recent events, and I'm just not going to go into detail with the recent events, but we all, stayed in our house for 2 years because of it. Some of the methods that he developed are currently used in the production of modern antibiotics that were used in the past several years. So that was interesting too. And it also told me your Canadian Notables team is really awesome because this is a modern event. And so they went back into the profile to update it to make sure that everybody knew that it related also to current and modern events. It's great. It's a great profile as well. I will drop the link there if you're interested, excuse me. If you're interested in checking it out afterwards. And again, I believe this is another Russell. Just a really good job. Really beautifully done, but also intriguing. So every one of these profiles, I sat and read. I know sometimes we go on WikiTree and we see little snippets or we see long paragraphs and we're like, well, I'll just skim it. But this, I really sat down and read. It was very well written. And for a scientist profile, it was written in a way I could understand it. I'm more artsy than scientists. So
that's the thing. Sometimes they're so dry.
They are. And I thought this was great. And so the other thing, he was appointed an officer of the Order of Canada, but also a companion of the Order of Canada. And we've been talking about how the British have been giving out awards, and Canada has their own as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. This one, I was going to ask everybody to name that tune or name that song. So this would be Anne Murray. I think.
Yeah, she's pretty iconic.
Yeah, she's just a natural treasure. I mean, she's just amazing. Her voice is just so smooth.
Yeah.
And she also personifies the Canadian happiness as well. I used to live in Nashville, and I can tell you that if you live in certain areas of Nashville, you always see stars out and about, lunch, dinner, shopping, things like that. And she would always give autographs. She didn't blink an eye. She wasn't cranky. She would just smile and go, absolutely, or sure, and give an autograph. But she's pretty iconic as well because she, we think of her in the States as country, but she's really the adult contemporary. She crossed over.
Yeah, and actually, I believe, if I remember correctly, she started out as a children's singer.
Yeah.
because that was my first introduction to her. So that will date me for.
I know, and it's a funny thing. I try not to date myself, but when we're talking about Anne, she won 4 Grammy Awards, a record 24 Juno Awards, 3 American Music Awards, 3 Country Music Association Awards, and 3 Canadian Country Music Awards. She needs a whole separate house
for her awards. Yeah.
She needs a completely separate house. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And
sorry, my dog just let himself into the house.
Mine usually lets himself out, and then we go running. If you want to take a look at her particular profile, this has some more details as well on her. And I think I have, let me post this again just to make sure. This is Anne Murray. Now, the next one, I know everybody's going to know. And I do expect everybody to tell me their favorite movie. Mr. Candy. You can't have a talk about Canada without Mr. Candy, John Candy. I love him. I'll probably get it wrong. Is it the 96er? I don't think it's 86er. It's the 96er, that big steak that he had to eat, and he thought he ate it, and he had all the bristling left that he had to eat. I love John Candy. I totally adored him. He was hilarious. He was funny as can be, and he was funny in a way that was safe for kids.
Exactly. My dad actually went to college with him.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Was he funny? Did your dad remember meeting him?
Yeah, he was. I met him. I was like 6.
And the interesting thing too about him that I'll mention, we are not going to show the profile for him, but I will mention him, Ryan Reynolds. And so we talked about him earlier.
Yep.
Or this is Ryan Reynolds' idol. This is the person he looks up to as well.
Yep.
And a little bit of trivia about John. I was shocked. Huge fan of the Far Side comic strip. That did not shock me. No. He was offered the role of Louis Tully in the Ghostbusters, but turned it down.
I did not know that.
I mean, I was like, yep, I could see him in Ghostbusters 100%. Absolutely. So, and I can see that you guys are having fun too, naming some of the movies with him. Home Alone. Definitely SCTV.
SCTV, yep.
Oh, Cool Runnings. That's another good one as well. And Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck. That was one of my favorites.
Here's a classic: Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yep. Yes. The Great Outdoors.
Oh, that was a good one too.
That was really good. And again, I'm sitting here smiling. I've seen all these, and they are something that you could show your kids. You could have family movie night easily have family night. I do know that he did co-own I want to say Toronto Argonauts football team. Was it Toronto? I know it was Argonauts with Wayne Gretzky. But Liza, I agree. You can't talk about Canada without talking about Wayne Gretzky as well. Oh, Polka King. Yep, that was good too. So, and here is Irish John bringing in Canadian Ryan Reynolds with a connection to Wrexham, which is Wales soccer team. And I say this a lot with bingo. I just mentioned 3 nations, and this is what WikiTree is known for: collaboration. So our projects work together. Oh, and he tried to buy
He did try to buy the Senators, yes.
Hockey team. Interesting. We won't talk about how Atlanta lost 2 hockey teams to Canada. We won't talk about that right now. There's a link for John Candy. Definitely go look at it. It's a really well done profile. It just makes you smile. It's something that makes you happy as well. So definitely go take a look. Okay, so moving right along. I wanted to bring this next one up for everybody because we talked about the first peoples. And one of the questions I gave Amy was a tough one to also answer. How do I do the name? And I'm going to show you. This is a fabulous profile. time has been spent on these profiles, but this one, a lot of time has been spent. And Russell, I applaud you for the work that you do on these profiles. So if you notice how he has the name, I want to bring this up. So if you work on any first people's profiles and you're curious how the name should be, reach out to the Canada Project. Don't guess. Don't try and get a headache or a migraine trying to figure it out. Just reach out to them.
We give ourselves a headache trying to figure it out sometimes.
This is again, I wanted to bring this up because we talked about the first people. I love this. And I also love the location. So it's not the name, but it's also the location. So you see that it was on a reserve, the Six Nations Reserve, and fabulous pictures. Look at the categories that Russell put on here. He made sure to really put this as a complete WikiTree profile. Look at the stickers. It's just a beautiful, it's just an amazing, beautiful profile. And I gotta say, Doug, you're right. I was blown away by this one, and I was thrilled to be able to show you guys this particular one because of First People. So let's talk a little bit of trivia about Tom. So Tom's first sport was lacrosse. He became a runner. He was a leader in establishing the marathon running as an international sport. And I was reading his profile. I'm not going to give it away because I want you guys to go and read it as well, because it's one of the best profiles I have ever seen on WikiTree. That's how much I'm in love with this one.
Interesting fact. I'm just going to go. I went back through the changes on this to see who all has worked on this profile, because it is really well done. It was actually created by Eowyn.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, in 2014.
Okay. Let's look at this.
Lori Crothers did a lot of work on it.
I'm going to give you all some. Look how much work she did. She created it and did a tremendous amount of work in 2014.
Yeah.
How many of you were on WikiTree? 2014.
Not me.
And Lori added a lot of information. We've got some other Canada Project members as well. So this is just, again, this is one of those things where we talk about collaboration, and I like to talk about collaboration amongst the projects, and that's really what our bingo is focused on, where we bring you guys a project each bingo to kind of showcase it, answer any questions that you might have in case you don't want to become a full-fledged member, but you still have questions and ask the leaders that are here. But it's also collaboration, just WikiTreeers.
Yep.
So we have many that have worked on that, and I'm so glad you looked at the changes, because this brings in, the force stuff. It brings in Eowyn.
Exactly.
And I will also say with Dave, agree totally about Russell. His work's on Notable Team.
He's fabulous.
And I'm going to assume that Russell's probably like all of us that work on Notables. These are not things you're going to get done in an hour or so. These are going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to go back to it several times as well as you go through. Okay. I've got one more to show before the next bingo. I'm going to put the bingo card up one more time. We'll do the last bingo card right after I show this next profile. I'll give everybody just a hot second to go ahead and pull up the bingo card. But if anybody is curious or wants to guess, what would Sandy pick as the last profile of the Canada Project to show? There's a little bit of a delay by the time I ask to the showing of text. So we'll see if anybody guesses it real quick. And Amy, what is the weather up there?
Right now it's smoky.
Smoky. So you still got the fires?
Yeah, the fires are still in Quebec. And unfortunately, last week it was beautiful here. The wind had shifted and it was blowing north. So we weren't getting our air quality improved immensely. And then, unfortunately, it has shifted in the last couple of days, and it's starting again.
Are they making headway on eradicating the fires?
They are. I believe the ones in Quebec, one is being considered as held, which just means it's not getting bigger. It's still burning, but it's not getting bigger. So that's good.
That is good.
Yeah.
Okay, and go back to the second profile that was never. I've posted it 2 or 3 times, Stephen, but don't leave. I will make sure that you get it as well again. Okay, good guesses, guys. Good guesses, but I will say that. Let me before I move on. The whole team does a great job on these profiles, and this is coming from one of your Canadian project leaders. And I just really want to say to you guys, you've done a fantastic job. I'm totally blown away. I'm a little jealous as well. Not Neil, but Azure has featured Neil in a WikiTree YouTube short. It's the wrong link each time. I'll get it for you. Don't worry. Okay. The last one, the very great, Bobby Orr. So that's the last one that I was going to point out. This is a living notable, and I try to show living notables with each project as well, so you can see that you can still have a very detailed project documented with a living notable. You just need to work with the project that the profile belongs to and the notables. And in WikiTree, the notables project is a PM, a profile manager of every living notable. It just helps us work with the rules that we have across the world and globally.
Yep.
So, Ray Lamo. Okay, I will post it. I will get it out, guys. And the reason why, I brought a Bobby Orr up. I'm wearing my hockey jersey. He's just really, really great guy, hockey, but also he's a humanitarian. He's known for his hockey, but a lot of people do not probably think of him as a humanitarian. I want to point out too that his famous goal, for those of your hockey fans, if you're not hockey fans, go Google the search after bingo. His famous goal in overtime of Game 4 for this 1970 Stanley Cups. And 29 years without a championship is a long time to go for Boston Bruins. It's considered one of the most iconic moments in NHL history. And the reason being is because the pitcher appears that he's flying in the air as he's making the goal. And if you know hockey or watch hockey, what really happened is he was about ready to get tripped. And so he kind of leaped up in the air as he's hitting the puck. He looks, sees the puck's going into the goal, and he was so excited, he went like this, and it looks like he's flying in the air. So go look at the picture. It's one of the most iconic moments of pitchers in NHL history, and it has really nothing to do with Wyatt. It's iconic.
You're getting back at me for the not hockey.
Yes, that's true. Okay. So who is ready to play bingo? Let me bring up the next bingo game. But before I do that, let me bring up this link one more time. Okay, I'm going to post it. You guys are going to let me know. It keeps saying Archibald is the link, but it's bringing it up under Raymond. I have no idea why it's going up. That's kind of weird. Okay, so when you guys click on the link, it brings up Archibald. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. I know what it is. There you go. Try that one. That's it. We got it, Steven. Okay, bingo. Let's go ahead and play bingo. Everybody has their cards. I'm going to remind you again, if you've won in the last 6 months, you are not eligible to win. Stephen T., you are eligible to win. You were eligible to win the last time. If you get a bingo diagonally, horizontally, or vertically, then you have got bingo. But you need to shout it in the chat so we can see it. If more than one person has won bingo, the first person who announces it in chat is the winner. Do not close down your bingo card till we make sure that the person does have bingo, because a lot of times people that have won want to play along and have fun, and they'll say bingo, but keep playing. That means they won a bingo prize in the last 6 months. There's a little cartoon character of a moose and a flag, Canadian flag. Go ahead and click on it now and we'll get started. So we're going to go very, very funny. And it will be. I'm going to hear this from Stephen all the time. So now I got to make up a Star Wars joke. So we're going to say Archibald, Archibald, Archibald. Every time we see Stephen, he's going to say that to me. Okay. 2-4, 24 beer. We're starting Friday night off.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
That's what we call a case of beers, a 2-4.
A 2-4.
We also refer to the May long weekend as May 2-4.
Toonie, right?
That's our $2 currency.
Canada East, one of your territories?
So that was that was Quebec historically. So Canada East would have been 1841.
Toboggan. This is kind of an interesting word to me because this is going to be that wooden sled and it kind of curls up.
Yeah, at the front. Yep.
Yeah, at the front. But what's interesting, and I do not know the spelling, but as a child, we had toboggans that were the sled that we just mentioned, but we had toboggans that were the knit hats. I don't know if it's spelled different. I never really checked on it, but I just, yeah. So my mom would always go get your toboggans and you can go out and play in the snow. So we get both.
Yeah, really? Which one am I supposed to get?
Lower Canada.
So also Quebec. Lower Canada would have been pre-1841. So 1791 or 1796, somewhere there.
The beaver.
The beaver. That is our national animal.
It is.
It is.
It is. Okay. Again, not the moose.
Nope, not the moose.
Not the moose.
The loonie. That is our $1 currency.
So we've got the loonie, the toonie.
Yep. And they're $1 and $2 coins.
And
I'm still not used to having coins. I just throw them in a jar, and the next thing I know, it's time to go to the bank.
Okay, I'm going to guess that double is not double trouble, but it has something to do with 2-4.
No,
it's Tim
Hortons coffee.
Oh wow, a double. So what's a double?
2 cream, 2 sugar.
2 cream, 2 sugar. Okay. Oh, Liza, I'm not sure.
Beaver tails are very yummy. Yes, they are.
I'm just not sure. And in France, we call children's slides toboggans. Since the French came over to Canada, that's
where the word probably came from.
Very good. That's pretty cool. And we have loony because it has a loon on it. Okay, what does toonie have? Now you guys gotta be curious.
It's got a polar bear on it, but it's called a toonie because it rhymes with loony.
Freezies,
yeah. My American cousins had no clue what freezies were, and they're flavored ice in a.
Are those ice pops?
Yeah, ice pops. Yep.
Different colors, different flavors.
Yep.
Oh, this is classic.
That's classic.
That was classic. I had we call him a brother from another mother that was German. And before he could come and get citizenship in the United States, this is about 30, 40 years ago, I guess, U.S. government recommended he go to Canada.
Oh.
And so he went to Toronto because of his skills. He had specialized skills with microscopes or something like that. So he went to Canada and lived there for a while. And it was so funny because he'd come to visit. And we're like, that's Canadian. That's not German. When you go, eh? Okay, Liza, congratulations on the bingo. That's awesome. We didn't get very far on the bingo words this time, did we?
We didn't.
That's pretty cool. Congratulations, Liza. So
awesome.
What you want to do is you're going to email. Let me bring it on up right there for you. Oh, there we go. Eowyn, and you're going to tell her that you won bingo with the Canada Project, which seems kind of perfect, doesn't it? And let me write your
winners are actually Canada Project members.
I know. Well, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. So congratulations to both of you for winning on the mug, I assume. Maybe the mug. And anybody have any questions for Amy or we've got project leaders. We've got a lot
Dave
of
and Doug are both there.
So if you have any questions, now's the time. I know that I like to ask you guys questions if I know that I don't have a lot of ancestors from a particular location, but I'm curious about the location or where to search. And we didn't really talk a lot about where to research because it's on the Canada Project's main page. There's space pages dedicated to this. And the reason why I didn't talk too much about it as well is because of all the territories.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes. And after learning about the First Peoples today, it was fascinating to learn that they are included in a lot of the general sources as well. So that's pretty good. So I have Howie's, Gadsby's, Q's from Canada in his tree. The Gadsby's. Yeah. That sounds interesting. That those kind of come across as very British, maybe. And Howie's and Liza's in the capital. If you do not live in Canada, does anybody want to tell us the capital? I think we talked about it once already. Let's see if everybody was paying attention. And then Amy, are there any well-done profiles of any of the king's daughters who came over to marry? That's a great question.
Yeah, I would actually really like to get Danielle to help me, and maybe we could do another bingo on our
that would be fabulous. I forgot all about that. That would be great. Thanks for mentioning that, Carol.
And there are a lot of the profiles are really well done.
And so we'll definitely. Do you still have need to build them out, or pretty much
some of them? I'd have to check with Danielle to see how many she has done, but her projects are really, they've worked really hard on them.
I always like to ask the projects. Let me do one more here as well. Only connection to Canada I have is a third cousin who was a Canadian war bride. She comes up a lot in the connection finder. That's kind of amazing, Joku. So was that popular as well? Like from World War II, I think, maybe. I'm gonna guess. Comes up and Amy, are freezies like popsicles that you would eat as kids in Wisconsin? I think they're the ones that are real skinny in that plastic, right?
Yep, they're in a long plastic sleeve.
And they're the ones that your mother never let you have if you're wearing good clothes.
Exactly. They're chock full of sugar.
And here's another. Learned the wife of my first cousin 3 times removed is 97. And I just want to also point out, Stephen, thank you for all the work you do with the food banks as well. Cool Pops. So this is interesting how everybody has different names for them. Mm-hmm. We call them Stephen has Cool Pops. I know, Stephen, you were kind of around New Jersey area too, I think, when you're growing up. And I was West Virginia and Maryland. We call them Cool Pops as well. Popsicles to us were fancy. They had sticks.
Yep.
They had the wood sticks. Yeah. So they were kind of fancy. And Joku says, yes, World War II, the Canadian Army liberated the Netherlands. And that would be interesting too, to see how many of the war brides came over. There is a movie, I want to say, on Amazon that mentions that. And it was quite a leap for the British woman to come over to Canada and kind of on the edge of the frontier. And from London, I should say. So that was kind of a leap as well. And from both wars. Thanks, Dave. Lots of English war brides in both wars. So I'm going to ask Doug and Dave and Amy. I like to do this with every project that is large location-wise. What do we get wrong about Canada? Not saying the States, so just what do people seem to get wrong about Canada? And Doug and Dave, feel free to let us know your opinion too.
I don't even know how to answer that.
I thought you would say, and I wasn't sure. I thought you would say that it would be that every Canadian is happy 100% of the time that everything is, because we do say this, and I think that this is interesting that you and Doug say the same thing. And I bet you Dave's going to say the same thing, because you're going to prove my theory wrong. That
we don't want to say anything bad.
Yeah, I know. So that's what's funny about it. I love that. And as Doug says, a lot of Americans think that it's a lot like the USA than it actually is. And I would say that's a really good answer.
Yeah.
You know, we do share a border, and we do have a lot of similarities. And we talked about the First Peoples have a nation that crosses the borders and things like that. But they are two distinct countries. They might, what's the old saying? Same language, shared language by a different accent, and separated by a common language. So that might be it. And I like it where you say that Doug is correct. So you three are really awesome. I want to applaud you guys for as well the leadership that you're doing on Canada Project, because it shows. Your pages shine. I'm blown away by them, and I love them. And we're going to have Amy come back again with the British Home Children's. Can you tell us just a sentence or two what that is?
So basically it was emigration societies, specifically geared to children. Some were orphans, some were not. Some were sent as work laborers as young children to farms in Canada and Australia and various places all over the world.
And that's a sub-project. That's part of the Canada Project. So look for that this summer. We're going to contact Amy again and have her come back. And I just want to drop real quick that if this is your first time on Bingo, please come back. We are booked all the way through until September, the end of August, September. And we have a lot of really, really cool bingos coming up. We have the Ty Cobb Museum is going to be here so we can start introducing baseball profiles on WikiTree. If anybody has ever used or curious about the WikiTree browser accessibility options, we're going to have Jonathan, one of the programmers, is going to be here to talk about it. I am so excited as well. We have the Poland project, which is just now coming back up into full action, as well as you've seen Jamie around G2G and WikiTree. She's going to tell us exactly what that WikiTree apps project is. And that's always curious, because you think that it's just about WBE or maybe Ian's B or something like that. But the WikiTree apps is a fascinating project. And if you like to dabble in programming, you definitely want to be here for that. And just to drop some more, in August, we're going to have Greg. If you watch the Saturday Roundup, if you don't, make sure you do. Greg is on the Saturday Roundup every Saturday. He's coming back with his ex-friend. So, it kind of talks about those tricky family situations when families marry into families. And I noticed somebody mentioned the Acadians in Canada, and they're going to be here as well. And they're going to talk about the Acadians all over. The 15 Nations Tour will be here. David Randall with a big announcement from WikiTree. But on the same day as the 15 Nations Tour, definitely come back for Bingo. It's going to be at the end of August. A huge, very large WikiTree surprise announcement, and Bingo gets to do it. So
nice.
Again, thank you, Dave, Doug, and Amy. I so appreciate you guys being here. If you guys have any questions about Canada, you know who to ask. We had them all here today. Everybody have a great weekend. If you're watching this out after the fact, thanks for being here. Me and Amy enjoyed it.
Did.